I'll be honest with you, keeping track of the name of every small SUV that's come out in the 12 years I've been doing this job has been really hard work. There are just so many, and I've given up on Vauxhall. They've got so many cars and trim levels, leaves me more confused than my feelings towards Toblerones. They're delicious, they're spiky, they look like mountains, but they're Swiss, the land of speeding fines and dubious treatment of prisoners of war in the 1940s. Volkswagen Group alone makes 4 versions of every car. You've got the Seat Arona, the Volkswagen T-Cross, even the Audi Q2 and this Skoda Kamiq are all very similar. But this Skoda Kamiq is one that's well worth remembering because it does that typical Skoda thing of meeting a really nice intersection between price and quality and practicality and delicious nougat. Maybe not the last bit. But anyway, Skoda Kamiq. It's a good car. Let's find out why in this short YouTube video. The Kamiq came out back in 2019 as Skoda's baby SUV of its range, and it was updated in 2024, which basically gave it some more interior tech and some slightly smaller lights down here, but it's essentially much the same car. This second-hand one is £13,500 with 30,000 miles on, which makes it a bit of a bargain. Admittedly, it is entry-level SE trim, which means you get these more basic LED headlights. You get slightly more advanced one on higher trim models, but as we're going to find out, this has still got everything you really need, like a Toblerone. Don't eat them. Don't just eat Toblerones the rest of your life. You'll die pretty quickly just from picking the bits out. Are we sponsored by Mondelez yet? At 4.25 meters long, this is a bit smaller than the Skoda Kamiq, but it also means it's just a handy size for fitting in car parks. And actually, Kamiq does mean something that fits perfectly in the Inuit language. That is true. What's also true is at 1.5 meters tall, it's not actually all that much taller than a regular hatchback. It's about yay much higher than a Skoda Octavia, for example. And that does mean that you don't tower over other road users like some kind of end-of-level boss in a computer game. As with most other Skodas, you'll spot some elements of cut glass crystal-inspired design, which basically means it's got lines in the tail lights. But yeah, otherwise, like most Skodas, it's got a pretty big boot. It's 400 litres. That is slightly smaller now than the one in the latest Nissan Juke, but it's a nice wide space. It is actually better for getting stuff in than the Juke. So you've got a bit of a load lip in this one because it doesn't have an adjustable boot floor on the entry-level model here. But you've got these little spaces at the side for tucking things, got a few hooks. And yeah, it's a decent space for what isn't a huge SUV. You can tow stuff with it as well. You can tow about 1.2 tons on a brake trailer, slightly less for the weakest 90 horsepower engine, slightly more for the biggest 1.5 litre engine. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Skoda Kamiq has got the most outlandish interior because, frankly, it's more austere than David Cameron's socks in here. It's very black, very grey. If you get the top-spec Monte Carlo model, you do get some fancy red trimmings, but I wouldn't bother because this SE model has everything you really need. Look, I've got an 8-inch dashboard. It's quite basic, but it's got wireless Apple CarPlay. I've got a small bit of digitalness in the middle of the display here, which tells me my MPG and stuff like that. The 2024 facelift turned that into an all-singing, all-dancing digital dashboard, but you don't really need it. And for 13.5 grand, I've got cruise control. I've got single zone climate control, but it works. I've got a place for my phone down there, 2 USB-Cs, good storage, an armrest with a decent cubby, a felt-lined glove box, and a place up here for my stylish sunglasses. What more really do you need? I've even got a leather-coated steering wheel. 13 grand for a used one of these. I would say this is right up there with the best value cars, interior-wise, on the market. At the start of this video, I said Volkswagen Group tends to make 4 versions of the same car, but where Skoda normally differs is it does more back seat space, and that's true here as well. I've got more headroom and knee room than in the Volkswagen T-Cross. I have got a massive lump in the floor though, so your middle seat passenger isn't going to be quite as comfy. But for tall adults, I'm 6'3", that's my driving position. I'm great. I'm just really comfortable here. It doesn't feel claustrophobic either. I haven't got anything down here in this entry-level version. No USB sockets, no heating controls, but they come as you go up the range. I've got door bins, which are actually a semi-decent size. The only annoyance is the Isofix covers have these removable clips which you're going to take off and just lose. Other than that, it's really good back here. Let's find out how it drives. Right, we're going for a drive in the Skoda Kamiq. I should point out this SE model has only got rear parking sensors and you have to start it with one of these. You get keyless ignition and keyless entry as you go up the model range, but really, do you need that stuff? You're saving so much money by getting the entry-level version, and you still get access to the best engine that you can get in this car, which is the 1 litre engine with 110 horsepower. Got 6-speed manual transmission, so you can drop the revs down on the motorway, and actually, it pulls pretty well. It's got a 3-cylinder engine, this, and it just makes a cool noise. It thrums away. You can get a 90 horsepower version, but I wouldn't bother, frankly. You only get a 5-speed gearbox in that, and it hasn't really got the pep that you might want. This actually feels plenty fast enough when you really put your foot down, and it calms down nicely at motorway speeds. And at motorway speeds, I know I'm not on a motorway at the moment, this does feel pretty refined. You got a bit of wind noise off the door mirrors, but you can do 70 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour really happily. You don't feel like you're in a 13 grand car. It's outrageous, and that goes for the rest of the driving experience as well. On a twisty, bumpy British B road, the suspension does a decent job of ironing out bumps. Look, I'm coming up to a corner in 4th gear, and we're going round it, and it's actually reasonably flat in the corners. I got hooted at for some reason. It's reasonably flat in corners. I don't think they expected a Skoda Kamiq to be going around a corner quite that fast. But it handles well, the steering is nice, the visibility is decent. What more do you really want? Sure, it hasn't got hot hatch performance, nor does it have the sporty handling characteristics of a Ford Puma, but so what? It's a decent car. It's really, really decent to drive. Anyway, let's head back to our churchyard of justice for a conclusion. In a world packed with funky small family SUVs, the Skoda Kamiq excels by doing all the boring things really, really well, such as the boot space, the rear seat practicality, just the kind of robustness and the ruggedness of the interior, and the tech you're getting, such as wireless Apple CarPlay. Couple that with reasonably efficient and powerful engines, and you've got a real all-round winner. Sure, it's not going to sell on its sex appeal or anything like that, but overall it makes its competitors feel pretty amateurish. It makes a Vauxhall Crossland, I've remembered that one, feel like a toy. And on the used market at 13 grand, it's a hell of a lot of car for the money. So yeah, proper Skoda cliche that. Big car on the inside, small price. Thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please hit the like button, subscribe to the Motorpoint YouTube channel, go down to the comments and tell us what your favourite small family SUV is and whether you'd like to be run over by it.